Every now and then, I tend to think about what it would be like to experience some of my old favorite games again for the very first time. Every seasoned gamer has their own personal picks, but for me, finding a game that hits home in the very same way that games like Super Mario 3, Mega Man 2 and 3, Metroid, the original Sonic trilogy, and more can be very difficult. What makes it even worse is that the latest 2D side-scrolling games are almost always restricted to handheld systems, forever limiting their expressiveness to a tiny screen. Even if that doesn't bother you too much, at least for me, beyond the latest DS Castlevania games, installments like New Super Mario Bros., Sonic Rush, and Mega Man ZX just lack the magic of their original titles, even if they are still enjoyable. Well, the game that we're reviewing here is a true one-of-a-kind rarity. This is Cave Story, released for the PC in 2004. Talking about Cave Story is kind of weird because depending on your audience, you're either preaching to the crowd and regurgitating what's been said 1,000 times over, or you're unearthing what's like a mystical gem that most people will never even hear of. I'm focusing my review mainly for the people who have no clue what this is. This is not a review for the indie gaming crowd. This is a review for most regular people who probably don't even care to begin researching this kind of stuff. Cave Story was slowly crafted over the course of 5 years by a man named Daisuke Amaya, sometimes better known as Pixel. At perhaps a first glance, it looks like this was released about 15 years too late. However, once played, many will notice that Cave Story contains some of the same magic that the old classics have. There is no doubt in my mind that this game will be a true favorite among many people. All in a game contained within 4 megs and released to the internet as a completely free download. Cave Story is a work of genius that comes from someone who loves video games. I don't know this because I read it in a magazine or some online special feature. I know this because I've experienced it. From playing this game, I know that the man who goes by the name of Pixel shares the same favorite video games as I do and knows exactly what made them good. From subtle influences to outright borrowing various elements as sort of an homage, Cave Story draws from the classics to create a new modern-day classic. If you haven't figured it out yet, Cave Story is a game similar to Metroid and Castlevania. There is a lot of 2D running and gunning with some focus on exploration, though minimally as the game tends to be rather linear. You can play with several different weapons, all with different advantages, which can also be leveled up. Your character, a silent protagonist, has lost his memory and finds himself awakened in an underground village populated by rabbit-like creatures. Through playing the game, you come to learn of their persecution, who you are, and just what exactly is going down. Cave Story is incredible in that it gets right all of the basic simplistic elements of gaming. While that may not sound very impressive at first, if you look at most generic 2D platforming games, you can tell that most developers have absolutely no clue what the hell they're programming. These people who are paid to think about and create video games, routinely botch the fundamentals of video game design. I believe that truly understanding video games is an extremely rare trait. One example of this I can give is the jumping. The creator of Cave Story, Pixel, knows exactly how high a character in his environment should jump. He knows exactly the amount of float he should have in that jump. He is completely aware of the momentum that jump should have and what it should take to stop it. Pixel gets these things right in nearly every category. He knows how far guns should shoot and knows how things should just generally be. I definitely need to stress just how good the music is. Now get this, from an interview I did end up reading, the creator of this game has had no formal music training. What is the way he composed most of these tunes? He found a program, put notes together, and when he came up with something he liked, he used it. For everything he didn't like, he deleted it. It's as simple as that. What's amazing too is that this is some of the best game music that I've heard in a very long time. Much more memorable than the majority of forgettable cuts that get shoved into video games today. I still wouldn't consider Cave Story to be the perfect game. With the higher than usual emphasis on story this game presents you with, I would have enjoyed learning a little more about the main character straight from the get-go. While he succeeds in being mysterious, he also lacks in any sort of initial personal drive or motivation. You start off doing things mainly because you're told to. You get stuck with a lot of busy work. You know, combing over the map to collect various items and such. While these parts weren't particularly bad, I was hoping for something a little more exciting than getting sent on puppy retrieval so early in the game. Perhaps this experience was needed to further develop a more personal feel with these characters, but these parts are definitely slower than the rest. Luckily, they mostly chill out after the first hour or so. Cave Story also contains a couple of design oversights. Without manually going through folders and moving files around, you can only have one game going on at a time. There are no multiple save files. You can't skip cutscenes either, which can be a bit of a drag when you end up repeatedly dying. Please understand that my negative points mean almost nothing compared to the overall awesomeness of this game. Cave Story is packed with secrets, varying story choices, and subsequent alternate endings. The plot is intriguing and it isn't afraid to include some drastic elements, and it really kept my eyes glued. You can play this game with many different approaches, depending on how much challenge you wish to present to yourself. For the truly hardcore, there is a final level that'll keep you on your toes, and if you aren't a skilled gamer, there is no way you'll ever be able to beat it. Cave Story contains a vast amount of extremely memorable bosses, all unique and requiring different strategies. It is insane how many things this game gets right. I'm sure not everyone will be able to appreciate Cave Story. Not everyone will be able to understand the beauty of its pixelated art. Hell, when it comes down to it, I can be quite a sucker for some high-res Guilty Gear 2D art myself. I'm not sure if I can even blame people for not digging Cave Story's look either. While I enjoy its style, I also have years of nostalgia ingrained into me for this kind of stuff as well. I consider the majority of Cave Story to be nearly perfect. The gameplay is spot on brilliant, the story is interesting, the music is wonderful, and it features a unique look that I really enjoyed. Most of my beefs with this game are minor. My biggest complaint is that I wish Cave Story continued on and that it were twice or maybe even 3 times as long just because I enjoyed it that much. This is really something that true gamers should at least try out. Most of you have no excuse not to. I give Cave Story on the PC a 9 out of 10.